What up, CSB Nation? It's your boy CSB Leo, and you know what time it is. It's game time. We've been waiting for this day for months and months. If you've been following Colorado Buffaloes football, you've been there during the transfer portal. You've been there during the spring game. You've been there for summer and fall camp, and now all the talking stops. This is time to let the talking be done by your play on the field. So excited for game night tonight. The opening game of the Colorado's Buffaloes football season is tonight versus North Dakota State. I know all of you are going to be tuned in. I have been gone for a very long time, but like Coach Prime says, hey, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. First thing, taking care of my health, mental, physical, spiritual. Number two, being a good husband, being a good father. Did some traveling this summer, did some vacationing, and that was wonderful. And then number three, making sure that the main work, right, how I earn my money, how I make my living is taken care of so that I could be here with you doing what I'm passionate about, and that's talking about Colorado football. All right, so if you think Colorado's going to dominate tonight, I need you to run up the score. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers ASAP. All right, now let's dive in to today's video, which is all about who are my players to watch. These are guys who are unsung heroes that I think are going to be household names tonight if they play like I know that they're capable to. This is a statement game for Colorado, okay? This is not just a game that they have to win or that they need to win. This is a game where they have to dominate. Now, the opponent that they've chosen, everybody in college football knows is not going to be a pushover. They're going to be playing a very, very good and interesting opening football game against North Dakota State. They are the Bisons. And the game is going to be, I think, on ABC at 8 o'clock tonight. So tune in for that. I know the whole country is going to be watching. Fans of Colorado football before Prime got there are going to be watching. Fans of Colorado football like myself who came after Prime are going to be watching. Of course, all the haters are going to be tuned in. And then even people who don't watch football because Colorado Buffaloes football and Coach Prime is a cultural phenomenon are going to be tuned in. So I know you're going to be there watching every moment of it. All right. So let's talk about North Dakota State first before we jump into the players on the Colorado side that I'm going to be watching. This is a predominantly run team. They're going to run the ball most of the game, which means they're not only going to try to be effective on the ground, they're also going to try to be effective at controlling the clock. This team has been a powerhouse in FCS, and they're coming to Boulder ready to prove themselves. It's like if you've ever been an underdog in a football game and you don't have anything to lose, some players play really well from that position, and that's the way North Dakota State tends to be when they come up to the FBS and play FBS teams. So they're a sneaky team, they're a well prepared team, well coached team, and most of all, they have a culture of winning over at North Dakota State. So interesting opponent to open the season with. This is one of those opponents that you cannot sleep on. But we've got some under the radar buffs who are going to be important if they're going to stop that North Dakota State rushing attack on the defensive side. And then in order to dominate on the offensive side, there are a few players that I'm watching to help the Colorado Buffaloes do that. All right. So these are the players I believe that will be X factors tonight in the matchup. If these players show up, it's not just going to be a win, but CU is going to dominate. Number one, under the radar for me is Taurean Carter, defensive tackle. Now, when you talk about stopping the run, the guys up front have to play a very important role. And Taurean Carter doesn't often get mentioned on the defensive side of the ball. I don't hear his name a lot, but he's going to be an absolutely critical piece. He was a big man in the middle. He transferred from Arkansas, and he has a very important job to do. He has to stop the Bison run game in its tracks. North Dakota State lives and dies by the run, and if Torian can eat up blocks and make plays in the backfield, he will force them to become one dimensional. Meaning, if the run game is not there and they're forced to throw the ball, I know that secondary back there is going to have a field day. I imagine that they're going to have multiple interceptions if they force North Dakota State to try to throw the ball against them in order to win. If they could stop the run, the defense is really going to be able to run around, have some fun, and make some big plays. And hey, who knows? We might get a pick six if we're able to stop the run. Number two, now this guy for me, his name keeps coming up, and in Coach Hart's press conference, he was talking about the fact that the linebacker room is keeping him up at night, not because he's concerned about them, but because he's trying to figure out who his potential two starters are. At this time, it's 9 a.m. East Coast time on Thursday, August 29th. There is no depth chart. So at this time, I don't know who's going to run out as starters for Colorado in this game, but a guy that I'm keeping an eye on in that linebacker room is Jeremiah Brown. All right, he had a solid spring game, very aggressive player. He was getting to the ball and making plays, and then he followed that spring game up with a standout camp in the summer and in the fall. So here's a quote from Coach Hart as I think it was the pregame show or maybe even Buff Stampede. He called Jeremiah Brown a try-hard kid, the kind of guy who gets out there at 5 a.m., putting in the work before anybody else. He's aggressive, which I love in a linebacker. When you see it, your instincts tell you to go, you get to that ball, you're playing downhill and you're making plays. That's the only way you're going to be able to make plays in the run game. You can't catch those offensive linemen when you're playing linebacker against a team that loves to run. You have to be the aggressor. And if Taurean Carter and the guys up front do their job, Jeremiah Brown should have a chance to fly around out there, make plays as part of what I anticipate to be a linebacker rotation, whether he starts or not. I think he's going to get some playing time tonight, so he's a player to watch. But here's where I like him. I think he has the potential to be the spark that ignites the defense. You need a player to go out there, make a big hit that gets everybody fired up and keeps the defense on their toes and making plays. All right, on the offensive side of the ball, this guy I've been watching all camp, and it's Terrell Timmons Jr. I think we have a loaded wide receiver room. There's no doubt about that. But I think Terrell Timmons Jr. is primed for a breakout game. I saw him on a couple of the well-off videos and Reach the People media videos, and he's running with the ones, right? So he's part of this stacked wide receiver room. We know there's some big names in that room, but I think what he gives Shedeur this year that we maybe didn't have last year, and I really haven't seen from many other wide receivers. Maybe LeJontay Wester might represent this as well, but he gives them a reliable deep threat, somebody who can stretch the field, somebody who can really run deep routes because he's extremely fast and he can flat out fly. So if Terrell can stretch the field, it's going to open up the entire offense. What I want to see from Colorado tonight, utilizing Terrell Timmons and maybe also LeJontay Wester, is to keep those safeties honest. Keep them 12 to 15 yards backed up, maybe even further because they have to respect the deep ball. We know Shedeur can throw it. He needs a receiver that can go down the field and get it. All right, next up, Charlie Offerdahl. I've talked about him also on this channel. His name does get mentioned, but I think a lot of times it's like mentioned with some doubt on it, right? But I think Charlie being RB1 coming out of summer camp, coming out of fall camp, I think you should see him run out there with the ones. But I think even if they approach the run game as running back by committee, with Charlie as the leader, I would like to see a bare minimum of 200 rushing yards, and most of that should not come from Shedeur having to scramble, right? We want Shedeur sitting in the pocket, throwing the ball, and letting the running backs do their job. If Charlie can have over 100 yards rushing, that's going to be a dominant performance. And I think that's going to be able to at least answer some of the questions about whether or not he's earned that running back one spot. So that's the magic number for me, a minimum of 200 rushing yards. It allows us to control the clock and keep North Dakota State's rushing attack off the field. If we can dominate, instead of them dominating time of possession, we can dictate the tempo of the game, and that's when we can be at our best. And last but not least, I'm watching Justin Mayers. You know, the names that you hear all the time on well off media or when the coaches are interviewed are Khalil Benson, Jordan Seaton, of course, Hank Zelinskis, and maybe even Tyler Brown. But Justin Mayers is a guy that I'm going to be watching for. This guy was one of the most coveted offensive linemen in the transfer portal for a reason. He's got to show why he was so highly rated by helping our O line protect Shedeur Sanders and dominate in the run game. Only we're going to have 200 yards rushing and Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball down the field is if the O-line is able to protect him and they're able to open holes for those running backs. Plus, he'll need to lend his support and experience. So we don't quite know who's going to be starting at left guard or right guard. A lot of the videos that I saw was Justin Mayers on the left side of the line. I might be wrong about that. We'll see how they come out. But if he's on the left side, he's going to have an opportunity to lend his support and experience to Jordan Seaton, who we know for sure is going to be the starting left tackle. He's a 5-star, but he is a freshman. He's going to need somebody who's a veteran, who's played a lot of college football over there talking to him, because offensive line play is all about communication. And the center position is pretty hard to play too. So if you got Jordan Seaton to your left and Hank Zielinski to your right, and you have a veteran offensive lineman between them helping with communication, I think that's going to be absolutely critical tonight. So if these two, Jordan Seaton and Justin Mayers, can really lock down the line, it's going to be game over for the Bisons, in my personal opinion. So CSBs, we couldn't ask for a better game to kick off the 2024 season. North Dakota State will bring their A game. We know that, and we have to do the same. So let's get ready to rumble. And don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. We have subscribers over 5 videos because this community is so supportive of everything Coach Prime, everything Colorado Buffaloes. We want to see these young men succeed because it's about football. Yes, we know that, but it's about more than that. Like I opened the video, Coach Prime is not just interested in making great football players and winning football games. He's all about making great men and fathers. So hopefully you're doing the same. You're following that example, right? You're keeping the main thing. And then we're doing this as football fans as something that we're passionate about. So let's get to 1,000 subscribers. Let's keep this Common Sense Buffs community growing. Until next time, CSB, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.